Hello, beautiful beings. What is up? My name is Jeanette, also known as Ms.FitVegan. And today I have an impromptu live that I'm doing with my friend Sky. And I think she's in Australia, I think. And she's here. And we're going to talk about her health journey on a raw vegan diet. And so I'm really excited to talk to her. Thank you guys so much for being here. Let me bring her right in. And yep. Her learning about all the health issues she has overcome on a raw vegan diet. So thank you guys for being here. Oh,
Good
hi.
morning. Hello.
Hello. So Sky Boo, thank you so much for joining
Thank
me. Let me
thank you for
fix it.
having me.
And so yes, I was on your channel and I really liked talking to you. And so everybody go subscribe to Sky and see the interview she did with me. And now I want to talk to you about your journey on a healthy vegan diet. So now please tell everyone, first of all, how long have you been on this lifestyle?
It's almost 2 years now. So 2 years being raw, but I was before that for about 2 years vegan.
Yes, okay, perfect. And now please tell everyone what health issues did you deal with that led you to this lifestyle? Because you had some very severe
Yeah.
health issues.
So I, since the age of 8, I was sick. I had a break in my teens for about 4 years, but since I was 8. So I've had over 60 surgeries. At a couple of stages, I couldn't walk. One stage, I couldn't walk or talk. I had my stomach removed, duodenum removed. I had a full hysterectomy, a complicated hysterectomy. I have also had more of my small intestines removed. I have had glands, ligaments removed. I've been on massive, massive doses of opiates for pain for many years. I've had carers my entire life. So my parents had to care for me, or people have had to come into the home and look after me, and or I was in hospital all the time. And this was like, and also all surrounding this, no matter what I was diagnosed with, and there's like over 50 diagnoses, it was always underlying like chronic fatigue. I could barely get up since like I was 8, except for, as I said, there was a small break. um I was, yeah, always tired, just sick. And nothing worked. Like, it was literally felt my entire life, as the time went by, I was breaking. Like, it was just slowly a slow decline. That's how it felt. So I was dealing with
Wow.
a lot.
Wow. And the diagnosis was just like, I mean, you had 50, over 50,
Yeah,
but like chronic fatigue was one of them. What were some other
sure,
diagnoses?
sure. So I had hormonal problems. I was diagnosed with a congenital disease called endostromatosis. So there was like a second piece of uterus on a ligament. And then that, of course, then triggers off hormone problems throughout the whole body, inflammation. There was irritable bowel. There was a perforated ulcer. And then I had all those other organs removed: tachycardia, POTS, liver problems, bladder problems, kidney problems. Like, always urinary tract infections with kidney infections. It was like an inflamed body. There was like pop outs, is what I call them, like, a congenital disease was there. Or I lost my stomach, it was perforated. But to me, it was like the whole body was always inflamed. And when I look back over all those diagnoses, I always think to myself how I used to sit there and say to myself, no one's this unlucky. We're told that it's in your DNA, you've caught it, oh, it's just bad luck. I'm like, nobody is this unlucky, right? Like, how I was always trying to figure out what is causing this. Why am I breaking everywhere?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. And so you've been through a lot. And now tell me, how did you find the raw vegan lifestyle?
Sure. Also, before I go on, I also had severe mental health problems by the end. I could
Mm.
barely say my name. I kind of lost part of my memory. I was in an acute mental health ward for 10 months. So it was PTSD, depression, suicide, anxiety. And then I became an alcoholic. And then my liver stopped working properly. So it was like, as I said, it was just continue.
Oh, and
When, yeah, sorry,
I
go
have a
on.
question. Sorry, Sky.
Sure.
I wanted to know throughout this whole time, how were you eating? What kind of diet did you eat when you were sick like this?
So I ate, when I was younger, I was pretty healthy. Okay, so I was eating, when I first got sick again in my teens, I went to naturopaths and they were always prescribing dietary changes and never raw. So I did feel better when I ate plant. It was always like a plant-based and they took a lot of chemicals out. But in my mind, it was always trying to find an answer so I could get back to how I had thought life would be. So what I perceived life to be. But nothing was obviously a great enough change. And then very quickly, I felt I was so sick that only a doctor could fix me. So I was always at doctors as opposed to a naturopath. I ate relatively healthy, probably like mostly fruits, vegetables,
Wow.
cooked meats. But then as I got sicker and lost weight and lost my stomach, I had doctors intervene, and often I was on a huge amount of sugary protein shakes, which caused even more problems, especially my heart racing and stuff, because I dump food into my GI tract, I can get like a sugar hit spike. And I
Hmm.
got really skinny while I was eating 3 meals a day and having these protein shakes. I was 37 kilograms at one stage.
Wow.
So diet to me was like, no, but I thought I was so sick I needed some medical miracle to cure me. And that was like 5 years ago. And that's when I lost my memory. And like, it's like I guess like a trauma response. I knew I could tell you things that had happened, but there was no emotion attached. I couldn't really relate to it or even identify that it was always me that it happened to. And this year I did relatively well. This was 2008, and I ate paleo. So my mum has Lyme's disease. She was recommended paleo. She did a bit better. And that year I did pretty well. So I was not like this. I was able to work. I was able to go to the gym. I could do things. I still had no real great memory and anxiety was high. Then at the end of that year, I got shingles through my eye on the trigeminal nerve. Then I couldn't walk, talk. I had to go to a neurological hospital to relearn to do these things, like even butter your toast, for 10 weeks. And then during that stage is where I became really sensitive to the idea that I'm eating someone else's baby or I'm eating someone else. Like I thought to myself, because I call it like as I lost my memory or whatever you want to call it, or this trauma response, I was very sensitive, very, very sensitive. And I was like, would cringe when I'd look at foods and be like, no one's eating me. Why am I eating other being? So in all the
Wow.
hospitals, I was vegan. My parents would give me vegan. Occasionally, due to probably being shy, I would just go, oh, that's all right, there's butter on it, or something like that. Like that's probably my level of veganism. And I will say that I could identify that I was eating other creatures, but the real transformation didn't come. My real identification with veganism didn't come till later on. So I was just kind of I was functioning at a very low level. So yeah, that's where I was at with diet. And then I was in hospital so much for a few years, and then I got home and then back to hospital, and then mum and dad said you need to move out. Now, when I moved out was when for the first time in my life I had to cook my own foods. So it was during COVID, I was getting like fruits, vegetables, because I was vegan, and just doing what I thought I could, which was like dry roast some pumpkin with some garlic and rosemary, and maybe have it with some black beans, have some cauliflower, maybe in some turmeric, and like as a stir fry, but still no oil, very dry, like very just dry, or steamed. And what I noticed is if I ate fruits or salads, um, I could hang my clothes out, so do something, right? And I could never do anything. In my whole life, I could never do anything. If I ate the cooked food, I'd literally be back in bed for about 4 days with PTSD, could hardly move. My heart, nothing was improving, basically, is what I noticed very quickly. And the more fruits and salads I ate, when I would go back to one of those cooked meals, very basic cooked meals, I would notice a huge difference. And that is basically how I discovered raw food. So I still couldn't really read, write, concentrate very well. So to figure out what was going on, I went on Instagram and I saw that there were vegans who called themselves raw vegans, and there was these beautiful pictures of like fruits and salads. So that's what I did. I went, as long as it's raw, I would eat it. And it worked like
Hmm.
really well, like really, really well.
Wow. So now, I mean, it's only been 2 years. Can you tell us some improvements, some side effects you have experienced in the last 2 years?
Sure. So as I started eating the raw foods, the first thing I want to say is the voice in my head became like this guiding light. So the voice in my
Mm.
head was just this, I'd eat it and I'd go, this tastes good. I feel good. I'm going to next maybe do something else. This has made given me some sort of inspiration in some way, as opposed to I'm cramping. Am I going to be able to get to my bedroom now? My hair's falling out. That's terrible. How must I look? That went out the window. This self-love voice was so beautiful. And I will say that this self-love voice is also the kind of voice that I heard about, like how I feel I'm a vegan. So I feel we are all animals and we've got to love one another. And once I found that love with me, I am so connected to people, animals. So that is like the greatest gift I found from the foods. But it was the symptoms went, most of my symptoms went within 6 weeks. There's a photo on my grid of me 6 weeks apart. So my hair started growing, my tachycardia subsided, my blood work improved dramatically, and my blood work had always been going just worse and worse. Um, what else went? Yeah, my liver problems subsided, like eased like massively. What else? Blood sugar regulated, tachycardia. So I would walk 200 meters and my heart rate would go to 177. This all calmed down. I was able to do small walks or just sit in nature. Um, I was talking to people more. I was happy. I had stopped drinking, which I guess I had decided to do. My chronic fatigue was like non-existent. It was still, I'd still have days where I'd be a bit tired, but it was like every symptom just started melting. I could read and write better. Like my cognition was coming back. Things that doctors, medications have been promising, like millions were spent on me to get well, to save my life, and nothing did what this did.
Yeah, I can relate, and I know a lot of people out there can as well. Okay, we have a lot of questions, so let's take a break from my questions because I have more, but
Sure.
people have a lot of questions for you. So number one, they want to know what do you eat in a typical day now,
Sure.
that you are eating such a healthy vegan diet?
Sure. Okay, so I usually eat fruit all day as much as I possibly can. So there'll be grapes, there'll be papaya, I'll have started my day with coconut water. What's in season? Persimmons at the moment. What's in season? And I used to, at the start, eat a lot of bananas. At the moment, I'm a bit sensitive to them. I find I go through all phases with different fruits, but I find with fruits are so perfect as they are. I just eat them in that form and I love it. For dinner, I will usually have a salad, some sort of like raw salad dish. I don't eat nuts and seeds. I don't eat anything from a container. I only eat things fresh. So everything in my dressing, I will use like avocado or coconut meat. I will add to that like a little bit of onion, garlic, lemon, tomato, blend it, and then put everything I feel like in a salad. As I wanted to say here, as for nuts and seeds, I will say I got well on nuts and seeds, and salt and pepper, and sauerkraut and olives. So it's just that that's where I feel I'm at now, and that was my decision. But I want to know that I got really well on anything that we classify as raw. So yeah, that's what I eat.
You read my mind. I was just going to ask you that question. So now next we have Ether Lines wants to know, do you have experience detoxing from psychiatric medication?
Yes.
Hmm.
So this is something which is it's almost bringing tears to my eyes. What people don't know or maybe don't understand is when you are desperate, and I've been on so many psychiatric medications for many years, and you want a fix, you want to feel better, is those tablets stimulate the dopamine receptors and serotonin receptors of the brain. So you will feel content, or your brain is not looking to live, right? And that may help. It may save a life. But be aware that you will, if you want to come off those tablets, you will walk through the gates of hell to come off them. And I have not experienced, everyone does it differently. No one has the same response. I've come off probably over 35 different times. Each time it's been a worse experience. And my experience is, be very knowledgeable that what you're going through is not permanent. Eat the best you possibly can, as much raw as you can, and be aware that you're processing things that, not so much, it's not that things are flooding back in, but your brain is trying to adapt to a world it's not used to. And that is a real struggle. And that is what people aren't aware of, because a lot of psychiatric medications are prescribed just by a GP. You don't even need a psychiatrist. So a lot of people are on them. So be aware that it is not going to be a nice process coming off, but it's very rewarding once you're off. And it's being knowledgeable that what you're dealing with isn't so much about people like, oh, you've got to now deal with your past. No, it's really, you're not used to reality is what is hard. So that's my recommend. And use the alkalizing foods is what I recommend.
Wow. Yes, I'm sure it is very, very, very difficult.
Mm.
So now somebody wanted to know, how many pounds was that? Because you said you were at your lowest weight, you were in kilograms, and we didn't know how to translate. Do you happen to know how many pounds you were?
No, I thought pounds was about double kilos, almost double kilos. So 74 pounds, 74 pounds.
Oh my. And then are you
Yeah.
in Australia, Sky?
Yes, I
Okay.
sure am.
Somebody asked about that. And somebody also asked about fruit-based makeup. Do you have any makeup that you recommend that's fruit-based or like more natural than like drugstore?
Yes, that's a big thing. So when I also found this lifestyle, I got rid of all chemicals. And recently I used just a very natural vegan shampoo again, and all my pain down my back and my head set off. My mood goes off. The biggest thing I ever notice is my mood will change drastically from if I'm around chemicals. So I have tried many natural makeups. The only one that it's edible grade and that works for me and I use when I do lives or things like that or go out with my friends is called Arare Perez. I think it's spelled E-R-E and then the next word is P-E-R-E-Z, and it's really natural. I don't react. And yeah, I like it. It's supposed to be edible and it's great.
Yes. Now, you just said that basically, I'm assuming you are chemically sensitive, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. So let's talk about this because I was just at a family member's house this weekend. As soon as I walked in the door, Sky, I couldn't breathe. And I had to
Yeah.
stay there for 4 days. And the sheets, the air freshener, the plugins, everything. And I wanted to know, how do you deal with that in the real world?
Sure.
How do you deal with going to people's houses or staying in people's houses or hotels or things like that?
Okay, so I I feel you there. Like I am so sensitive to all of that. I've learned a few tricks. I have a friend who doesn't use all of that, and online she usually helps me when I get stuck. But bicarb soda on sheets. So if I travel, I usually travel with my own sheets and my own pillowcase. Pillowcase is more important, right? Because your head's in it. The other trick I was taught is in a hotel room is you can instead of pulling all the sheets off if you don't bring your own and washing them in bicarb, because bicarb is all I use and that seems to really neutralize things, is sprinkle some bicarb over the bed and then sweep it in and then vacuum it up. That helps. What else helps is I just make people really aware that I'm chemically sensitive. Look, by the end of Bali, I could not get in the pools anymore because I live by the beach, so I use the ocean. I would use cold showers for the last few days. I would lay by the pool, then go in for a cool shower. Yeah, they're the type of things I do. But when you're in somebody else's house, it's really hard because people are so unaware of all of the things that numb their bodies to these scents, right? Like, as you said, air fresheners, things are washed, perfumes,
Yeah.
deodorants. It's huge. When I run each day, the thing I notice actually at the start of getting well is when I go for my walks, people have these plumes, I call them, of chemicals around them, and they have no idea. Like, I used to be one of them. I used to think deodorant, hair
Me
shampoo,
too.
conditioner, moisturizer, toner, foundation, concealer. There would be like probably 30 things on me. It is
Lotion, body spray, like everything. Yeah.
hair dye. It's disgusting. People have no idea how bad they
Right.
smell. And the pretty girls, like the ones that are really put together, theirs are the most toxic to smell. So there's people who have what I call different layers, and that people are just so unaware.
Yes, as soon as I got in the house, I had an immediate headache and it lasted for all 4 days. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't breathe. And oh, it was really bad because I couldn't open the window either because they have an alarm system. It was like I'm still recovering. It was really
Yeah.
difficult. And I wanted to know, like, yeah, those are great, great tips. Somebody asked a question about going raw. Okay, so is it possible to go raw when my partner is still eating cooked foods? It's hard having these foods in the house when I get cooked food cravings. I have something to say about this, but I really want to know, Sky, what is your opinion on this? Is it possible to go raw when you're living with a partner who has cooked food in the house?
I have heard people like, I think it's Douglas Graham and Chris Kendall say there needs to be a leader in the family. So even if your family is a unit of two, there needs to be someone who has to go first. Always someone who has to go first. And in
Yes.
my experience, I don't live with anybody else, but the impact I have on other people's lives because of my diet is massive. Other people have gone raw because of me, but more so even just watching my nieces eat and learn about raw fruit and vegetables because of me. People talk to me only in raw food language, so they're eating more salads. The impact I have on other people, it far outweighs the challenges I have to overcome when I sit in a place which can make me feel uncomfortable. But you've got to make your own environment is how I feel as well. And that's my tip. So when I say, sorry, make your own environment, so you have to carve out your place on the shelf. Your food's going to sit. You're making your food. So that's my.
Yeah, I love it. Next question is you can hand wash. Oh no, this is not a question. This is saying you can hand wash things in Dr. Bronner's. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm always gonna have uh bicarb, which I think we call baking soda. I think we call it baking soda here.
Right. So
Right, right.
I have Dr. Bronner's as well, and I will use that occasionally, but I still find it strong, and I find bicarb just so fine. So that's why, yeah.
Yes. So, you're welcome. You're welcome for the advice. Oh, I went raw living with two people that were not even vegan. Okay. Living with two people that
Wow.
were just eating everything that I loved, sausages, pizza, French fries, pasta, fried chicken, everything, steak, bacon. I grew up on all this stuff. And I have to say, if it's hard for you, then you need to. I think you're not eating enough. That's number one. You might not be eating enough because, the volume that you're going to eat as a raw vegan is very different than the old you. It's very different than the partner you're living with. They're going to eat a small burger, but you might eat
Yes.
a giant half of a watermelon. And they're going to look at you like, that's too much food, but that's not too much at all. They're eating the wrong foods. And so they're very densely packed with calories and, all these types of things that we shouldn't be eating. So that's number one. You might not be eating enough if you're having cravings or if it's tempting you. And then, yeah, I love what Sky said. It's got to be separated and, have your fruit out. Have your fruit out so you see it. Because whatever you see on the counter, you're going to be more likely to eat, and then just ask them to please put it away, put it in the cupboards, put it in the cabinets, put it in, the drawers in the fridge that you can't see. And, after a while, yeah, in the beginning it might be hard, but stay hydrated, drink
Mm.
lots more water than you want, stay full, eat lots of food, lots of fruit and veggies, and after a while your body's gonna really crave that stuff, Like Sky, do you have any cooked food cravings at the moment?
No, no. So even when I did this, I was very aware that the cravings weren't what we actually think is the food. So as I think we spoke a bit about this before, about they're usually smells. So I'll usually smell a steak being cooked, but it's usually like herbs or the cracked pepper sauce or something like that, which triggers me. Very rarely is it looking at it. The only cravings that I really had at the start were the convenience cravings, where you're learning to make all your own food. But I feel better for spending time searching out for fruit. I love it now. So it's just that transition period, and what I call rewriting the brain, like just rewriting it. But it's almost like I love doing it because it's what it was probably meant to do. The brain is meant to look at fruits, look at fresh produce, identify with it. And you get like a vibe from fruits. Like when you go picking them, it'd be like picking them in nature. You pick the best which your body wants, the ripest. Someone else might pick another one, but that's probably what they need. It might even be off another fruit tree. So we really can fall into our natural habits.
Yeah. Yes, wow, that's amazing. I don't have too much experience picking my own fruit, but I can imagine that
Mm.
intuition guides you to the ones that you need. And I love that so much. And now, can you please tell my audience your experience with teeth issues? Okay, so you had a lot of
Yeah,
issues with your teeth, or you had issues with your teeth, which is
yeah,
not uncommon. There's
that's right.
billions of people going to dentists. So I want to just preface by saying that it's not a raw vegan issue. I mean, there would be no dentists if it was just a raw vegan issue, like there
Sure.
wouldn't be so many dentists. But you had some tooth issues. Can you please tell us what were your teeth issues and what did you do? Because these dentists are recommending things like root canals and extractions, and they're the professionals, and it's hard to not go with the professional
Sure.
guidance. So tell us your experience with your teeth.
Sure. So I, first off, before I went raw, because I was on such a sugary, bad diet, I had many problems, many cavities
Mm.
with teeth. My teeth were like yellow. I went on this diet and I felt my teeth weren't as yellow. When I went to the dentist, there wasn't new cavities coming up. But what had happened was before I was raw, I had root canal done. Well, it was at the start of COVID, so they only extracted the root, and I never went back to have it closed up. So what had been
Oh,
happening is behind one of the front teeth, food and irritating things had been getting up there. All of a sudden this pain came on, and I went back and he said, you never had the root canal done, you've got to come back 4 times where they like clean it out and drill more. And I had the fixing up once, and from that point, after them doing that, I was in bed for 4 days. I was on pain medication. So this is the first time I've eaten something that's not raw, so the pain medication is not raw. But couldn't function. And I called him and I'm like, I can't ever go through that again. You have no idea. The PTSD that came back with that as well was horrendous. And he goes, right, well, you can actually extract the tooth. So I was going to have the tooth extracted, but mind you, I'm blessed to be talking to people on here who are also living like a very natural life. They don't do things like this. And they kept saying things like, your body will look after you. No one told me what to do, but they said, the body's there to support you. And all of a sudden it came to me that I healed everything. Why could I not heal a tooth? It didn't make sense. The body just heals. And I
yeah.
had been reading Joanna Brandt and Dr. Morse a lot about grapes. And I thought to myself, I always tell people if they're, in a really bad way, give the body a bit of a break with something like grapes or more mono meals. Why don't I try it? So I pushed all the dentists aside. And in my theory of doing this, because a lot of people are going to say, yeah, but grapes can be quite acidic in the mouth, and any fruit can be. It's once it digests, it's alkaline. That really shouldn't affect us so much in the mouth if we weren't already acidic in some sense, in blocked type areas in the lymph. So that's what I was aiming for, is that there's some area around the face, and I'd had my tonsils removed as I was a child, so I haven't got things working as well. I wanted to clear the lymph. So my goal was not by the grapes, healing the tooth. It was my system would heal. So I had no set time. I just started eating grapes. So I did very well on the grapes, but after 10 days, I had severe neurological problems, which are accumulating. So I had a twitching eye. I had like twitching arm. I couldn't sleep. I was restless. My brain could not finish sentences. And all that was coming to me intuitively was try organic, try organic, try organic. So I finally got through this day of work. I was really struggling. And as soon as I had organic, within a couple of hours, I was doing much better. So I guess that's how chemically sensitive I am, because grapes are one of those
Yes.
fruits. Yeah, yeah. are not great to have because they've got the skin on. And I'm only eating grapes. I'm not eating a handful of grapes here. I'm only eating grapes all day. 2 to 3 kilos of grapes all day. So yeah, so I did this, and but mind you, when I had these neurological symptoms, once I went on grapes, my pain in my tooth, which no dentist could get rid of, the pain medication never completely got rid of. And this has been going on about 3.5, almost 4 weeks now, went within 4 days. So in 4 days
Wow.
of eating these grapes, this pain had subsided. Yeah,
The
completely gone.
non-organic grapes.
The non-organic grapes, yes. I did get neurological symptoms, which weren't like withdrawals. They were quite like neurological. But as long as the grapes, they went within 4 days. I did get some pinging come back, but remember, I'll go into this more. Hang on. So I'm doing this. I'm going along now. As I'm getting further into the grapes, I had like a few days where I had like cold symptoms. That passed. Towards the last days where I stopped is where I started to crave greens. Also at this point, my teeth were bleeding at night when I washed my mouth. And what I then was coming to me, I'm very intuitive with all this. It's how I found it is I did not stop thinking of greens for 2 days. Not pizza, not hamburgers, not even fats, just greens. I eventually had them, and I noticed when I had the salad, so broke this fast, is that night when I cleaned my teeth, there wasn't as much blood. And so I made a mix of, I juiced rocket, spinach, coriander, ginger, turmeric, and no, I blended all of that up and then drained out, took out all the pulp. And that mix,
Is rocket romaine lettuce?
No, that's arugula. Sorry, it's
Oh,
arugula.
sorry.
Yeah, sorry, we call
okay.
it rocket. So I
Okay.
blended all that, then got the juice out of it and carried around with me this little concoction where I'd rinse my mouth out after a meal of grapes. And my teeth would go green, but it would fade very quickly. And this seemed to alkalize the mouth area. So I guess what I'm saying is if I did it again, I'd be more mindful maybe to do some green, of what I call my green, like that alkalizing just for the mouth area. But within a few days, I think I did this for about a week and a half. There was no more bleeding. The tooth pain has never come back. And I continued mostly eating grapes for a few more months just because I loved grapes and they were in season. So that's my grape experience.
Wait, months?
No, so I ate it for 21 days, but then I would buy 10 kilos of grapes a week, eat grapes all day and have a salad at night. So I was only strictly on grapes for 21 days, but then because grapes were in season and I felt so good on them. Have you ever had gone on a grape diet for even a few days, just grapes?
I don't think so. I have the Grape Cure book. I love the book. I don't think I've done it. No.
It's like, even if someone does it for like 2 to 3 days, I swear the feeling is just like electric. Like I don't know. It's just something that it's just a different, I guess fruits give me different feelings. You probably know that. You get it as well. There's just, it was a really light, it works for me. I think that's another thing is everyone has fruits that feel really good for them, and grapes didn't give me any problems. So that's my grape diet.
This is incredible. I've always been fascinated by grapes. I think because Arnold Ehret said grapes are like the perfect human food. They're even shaped like our cells, because all the food that is good for you is shaped like the organ. And so, grapes, and they're very low in protein and fat, and they're very high in carbohydrate, and so this is the perfect human food for us. They're almost pure carbohydrate. I believe it. I can imagine you were electrified and charging. And I love how you talked about the body heals itself, which we all experience when we get a paper cut. I recently got a paper cut, and like 2 days ago, actually, I was at the house of my godmother, and I was trying to use a Ninja. I had never used a Ninja before, and I was like trying to fix the blade, and I cut myself on the blade. It was such a bad cut. But like 2 days later, the cut is like almost completely healed. And this is just such a great metaphor for the body. I mean, you're right. Like teeth are such a big issue in society. Let's not even talk about the raw vegan diet because everyone's dealing with teeth issues. Like my mom, my grandma, my sister, my grandpa, my
Mm,
my friends, they are not raw vegans and they're dealing with teeth issues. So I know it's not a raw vegan thing. It is very scary to have teeth issues, but how long ago was this really severe pain that you dealt with?
only in January.
Okay.
January. It seems a while ago now, but yeah, in January.
Yeah, so it's been like 5 months now, and the pain has gone, right?
Yep.
And so this is living proof. And the same thing happened to
Mm,
me. I think it was January too, January, February. I had the most severe pain,
mm,
and I actually took it's crazy. I took the dentist's advice and I got crowns. It
mm,
didn't help the pain. And then she wanted to do a root canal, but I said no root canal. So they
mm.
did crowns instead to see if that could help. And the pain was exactly the same.
Oh,
And what I did is, I also changed my diet a little bit. I started eating lots and lots more greens, lots and lots of fruit, but way less fat. So I gave up all the nuts and seeds just to see if it would help
mm,
to heal, faster, and it did. And I got colonics, and some people made videos about how weird that was to get a colonic for tooth pain, but it's never come back.
mm,
It's never
mm.
come back. And they said I had to have a root canal. Like I
Yeah.
literally had to, or else my dentist said that I was going to end up in the emergency room
Mm,
in severe pain.
mm.
Can you please, were you going to say something?
No, just just listening to this, it's how we all get trapped. Is I don't know whether growing up, if a dentist said something or a doctor said something, whether my brain ever went on to think of its own thought, because that was law. That was God talking, is what I believed. And you said something about, everyone in society is having teeth problems and all of, like, it's not just raw vegans. Everyone in society is having health problems except raw vegans. I mean, even if a raw vegan has some sensitive teeth, well, shut. They don't have irritable bowel syndrome, high cholesterol, diabetes. They're not at a doctor's having a heart monitor put on them. And people are like, it's not the right diet. And I'm like, simply look at all of these people before and listen to their life. And that's the thing, right? And you're using colonics not because you think it's going to fit. We're so identified that where the pain is in the tooth, that it's the tooth, but it's behind the tooth, that lymph area. So that colonic is moving debris out of your body. So you've got a clearing, and once that's clear, you can move more stuff out of the rest of your body. So it totally
Right,
makes sense. We just think we've
right.
been told doctors are law, dentists are law, and that if you have a sore tooth, you rip it out. Your sore knee, chop it off, type thing. That's or you need to treat the area. No, we need to treat the whole body.
Yeah, everything is connected. I was just going to ask you exactly that.
Yeah.
So you read my mind for the second time today, which is amazing. And so it must be all the grapes.
Fruits are doing it.
And you know what's funny? I went to my colonic woman here in Miami. If anybody's here in Miami, I have a great woman. And she had the same thing happen, Sky. So she's not raw, but she's really into health. And
Sure.
she, 20 years ago, she had a dentist tell her she needed a root canal or else it was going to get infected. It's been 20 years. But instead of getting the root canal, she got colonics and she, started eating healthier
Yeah.
and the pains never come back. And so I'm not telling you, whoever's watching this, I'm not telling you not to get a root canal, but I'm telling you to be open to the fact that maybe doctors are not God.
Mm,
Maybe it's possible that your body is able to heal itself, maybe with some tweaking of your diet, maybe with some releasing of toxins from the lymphatic system, like Sky spoke about.
mm,
Maybe, understanding that ripping it out or having surgeries or having things removed is not always the best solution. In fact, usually causes other issues. How many people get root canals and still have pain? How many people get root canals and then they get infected? That happened to my
drag.
friend that I run the fruit festival with, the Woodstock Fruit Festival. She got a root canal, and then she still had the pain, and she
Mm,
got an infection, and all these things happened. And so, I just want us to be open to that. So
yeah,
we had
I
another question,
completely
Sky.
agree. Go for it.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's hard though, because at the top of the show, I was like, well, it's hard because these doctors have like so much experience and they're supposed to be professionals and they're supposed to be so knowledgeable about the body.
Mm,
But I swear, dentists, they're not even aware of what to eat. Like it's not even a realm of possibility that the food could be affecting the healing of our teeth or like, you know,
Mm.
how they're functioning. So be aware of that, guys. They don't know. It's not their fault. They just don't know what they don't know. Okay, how far into oh sorry.
I was just going to
Um
say before you start this question, I was just going to say quickly that what you have to understand is um, when we think about doctors today, is they're so specialized. They're not specialized though in the whole person. And there's that analogy where there's three brothers and you put them in front of an object and you blindfold each of them, and they haven't seen the object, and you get each of them to put their hands forward and have to describe what they're feeling. And the first one's going, oh, this is long and slippery and it's got like wind coming from it. And the next one's like, oh, this is flat and firm. And the third one's going, oh, this is tiny and wiggly, but oh, the smell, right? They all take off their blindfolds. They're all standing in front of an elephant, right? But all of
mm,
them just describe something completely different. And that is, and we're talking about very basic things. We're talking about most doctors are so specialized now that when you have a cold, they have to send you back to 3 different specialists. So you've got definitely like you've got your GP, but then you've got bronchial and pneumonia type specialist. Like they can't, they're so specialized. So I think we have to take that into consideration, that they're not knowing what is even going on behind some of these areas. Sorry, I just thought I'd add that.
so true. And how many specialists did you go to in your life? I mean,
I'd say 100. Like, I'm not joking here. Like, even when you're in one stay of hospital, the amount of departments and specialists and the amount of money, time and
mhm.
stress. And then for me to be at the beyond rock bottom and be just like scrambling to what worked is quite incredible, right? It's what us humans should know.
What do you, can I ask, what do you do for work, Sky?
So as I got well, I didn't work my entire life. I think I worked 3 years of my entire life of an adult in adult. I work in disability because I was disabled for 15 years. So I work in disability, but I also do I do health coaching, and I've just got ebooks and this new dinner club. So the raw foods as well.
Yes, so where can my audience find you? Where's the best platform to connect with you and find out everything that you do and offer?
Sure, I will put Raw Sky, my website, up now.
Oh, perfect.
There's
And if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll leave all the links below.
Yeah, there's email links and everything there. You can contact me. So I've just posted the website, so you can find me there. I'm on YouTube as well. I'm on TikTok. I'm on everything now. I want to get the message out.
Yes, I love speaking with you. We should let's do something together because
Yeah.
you are very inspirational. You're so beautiful. You're so glowing, and you're a great example of the lifestyle. And I think it's important for people to see what's possible, all the health issues that you've reversed. And you know, these are severe health issues. You know, these are not just like you know, like a common cold. You know,
Yeah.
these are things that you were told were chronic for life. And you know, I just yeah, I'm a big fan of yours. And
Oh,
so everyone go follow Sky. She's amazing. Click the links below. You'll get all of her information, how to find her, how to connect with her. And then we had a question. How far into your fruit journey did you start getting colonics? Do you think these or enemas are a necessary step for eating only fruit or mostly fruit? And so, Sky, what is your experience with colonics? Do you get them? Have you ever gotten them?
no. The reason, and I'm not against them. So the reason I haven't is when I got well, what I did was a strip back. So what I found I discovered worked for me was anything which was the more natural, the better I felt. And for me, anything going in me up behind there was old Sky, right? So I was like, I'm not doing that. But I was also of the mindset at the time, I'm not doing, a grape cleanse. So I built from there, and I think as I go along, I take each, however I am at the time, and that's what I run with. But for now, that's where I'm at. I haven't had them.
Okay, yes. I'm assuming that question was for me because
Yes,
I talked about it.
yes,
But I
yes.
wanted to ask you because I'm so curious. Well, colonics were a big part of my healing journey. And like Sky says, you have to figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
Colonics have really, really worked for me. I was very sick when I went raw. I was sick my whole life, like Sky, but not as severe. But I was sick. And you know, I was just constantly on medication, antibiotics, constantly going to specialists. I mean, I think I saw like probably 20 specialists,
Yeah.
20 different types of specialists in my life, you know, because I had like a major sinus issues, and they had to send me to the ENT, and then they had to send me to this other, you know, you can't even pronounce it. I had major stomach pains, so gastroenterologists and like
Yeah.
all these doctors that are not connected. They don't know what the hell's going on with every other part of the body,
Mm.
right? And so
So-
how could you possibly
so
rely on a doctor to heal you when they only study, you know, they study the pinky, but
That's right.
the issue started in the
Yeah,
colon. So
that's right.
it's crazy, Sky. It's really
It
crazy.
is.
You know, your body's connected, your entire body, and that includes the mind, kids. Okay. That includes the mind. So if you're having, you know, if you're saying to yourself, I just cannot lose weight, I just cannot heal on my own, I just cannot stay away from junk food, I just can't stop eating, like I can't eat raw, I have to eat cooked food, it's in the house. Well,
Mm.
that's affecting your
Yeah.
cells, and your cells are saying, okay, this is the instructions we're getting. We can't lose weight, so let's not lose weight because that's what we're being told.
Mm.
So be careful about that, okay? Be careful about what you're saying and
Yeah.
monitor it and change it around. Change it around. Something I've been doing lately, Sky, is I've been saying, let's not go there. You know, every time I have a thought that's negative,
Yeah.
I say to myself, let's not go there. And I make a U-turn in my mind, and I just say something positive. I say something uplifting. I say something, I can do it. You know, I say
Yeah.
a positive affirmation. So my colonic journey, real quick, is that I got really sick when I went raw, and I suffered for about a month. I couldn't talk without coughing. I had severe mucus issues.
Wow.
I was like, literally, it looked like I was dying. And of course, my friends and family were like, yeah, that's because you're not eating meat. You're clearly dying. That's too much fruit, you know, and it didn't look good for the raw
Wow.
food lifestyle. It didn't look good. But me being very, very stubborn, I was like, I'm sticking to this. I don't care. I'll die. I'll die to prove you guys
Oh, die
wrong
for
that we
this.
don't need to eat dead animal body parts. I'll die for this. And so I tried everything, Sky, like oil of oregano, echinacea, ginger, you know, all the things.
Mm.
Finally, I decided to get a colonic because it was like my last resort. I could not breathe. And within an hour of the colonic, I stopped coughing, and I've never been sick since. And so I've gotten many colonics over the years, probably about 20, maybe something like that, over the last 12 years. I would highly recommend colonics, the closed system ones. But that is not necessary. No, for the person that asked, it's not necessary. It's a healing modality. It's part of
Yeah.
something you can do. You can do it. It's
Yeah.
not you know, it's not a big deal, and it's not necessary. But I think if you're sick, especially with the mucus, with major mucus, or like diarrhea, like you're having things come out of you from the past, a colonics are really going to help to get all that out at once. I have lots of videos on this, H4113Y. Is that your real name? Um, so check out my YouTube channel. I have lots of videos on colonics and my experience.
I think
Okay.
that's so important what you just said about it's a modality, because when I shifted from like the medical modalities of like surgeries and medication over to natural, is that's how I see them, and that's how we need to see them. I feel is they're not something we do all the time, but because when you get sick is when you will know to shift more, is what. So I like that. Thanks for sharing that.
I What you just said inspired me, Sky, because I just realized like, okay, like the grape cleanse could be like seen as like an antibiotic time. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
you're taking
Yeah.
grapes like you would take antibiotics. You don't always take
Yes.
antibiotics. Right.
That's how I like to see them, because you've got to shift, because you're like, oh, they're just grapes. But when you're like, oh, that's surgery. But when you go into this, you've really got to see even essential oils. So if I get into pain, and I did this from the start. So at the start, I was really struggling because I'd been an alcoholic, I'd been smoking, vaping, eating foods that weren't right. Is I used some peppermint oil in a vaporizer. That helped. I'd put peppermint on my temples or just some points on my ankles. That would help. And I just kept believing, as you said, if you believe in it. And I use it today. So I don't find many oils help as much as peppermint. It has like that tingling sensation, which can create a distraction and also a higher blood flow, which helps with pain. So yeah.
Yes, and that was Haley, and now I see she spells it. I see what you did there with the 4 and the 3. Haley. Okay, that's very creative. This is the last question, guys. So, Camellia Flanagan, here we go. I am from Texas. I was born
Yes.
at this is a big question, so
Sure.
prep yourself, Sky. I am from Texas. I was born and raised in the country. My grandmother truly believed in doing tap water enemas. We ate lots of fruit and vegetables as well as meats, but everything was homegrown. Now, as I am a grown woman in her 50s and living in the city, I try hard to purchase organic because I grew up on organic and also work in healthcare now for over 34 years. I find a lot of the I find a lot of the always where the good ways and we live in flourish and healthy now things are so different. Okay, I guess that wasn't a question, but I'm glad I read that. Thank you very much for being here. Proud of you. I'm really proud of you for being here and for doing that. And there was some typo at the end, but I believe that yeah, I mean tap water enemas. I don't, listen, let's just talk about enemas for a second real quick.
Sure.
How do you feel about enemas? I'm assuming you don't recommend them because you don't really like to do colonics either. So like enemas are the same thing, right?
Yeah, so that's the whole thing. And just remember, I've had a lot of surgery down there, and a lot of people putting things in and out of there because I had surgeries down in that area, a lot of surgeries. So that's probably a huge aversion. But as I said, I think what's really important here is when I first started, what had happened was my body had become so inflamed that if you just say that
Mm.
the theory of the enema and clearing the water, getting the water in there, that would probably help, right, in some way, or the colonic, get the water in there. But because I'm so inflamed, I could barely even drink water anymore. I was that inflamed. I was cramping. So that was where I was at. I've got that mindset, but I've taken on the mindset now that as I've learned, because at the start I really hadn't been reading for years or understanding the world, is I really treasure these things and know that they're there for when I need them. But what I find
Yes.
best is keep a baseline of just the more natural, the better I seem to get, the more I just get well and it's good for the brain and body to get used to, right? Is to just feel safe. If we were putting things inside us and using oils and things, it's not comfortable all the time. So
No.
that's my take.
Yeah, enemas, colonics are not comfortable. Enemas, I would say for emergency purposes only. Colonic is more the thing that you want to get if you are called to do so. And so
Mm,
Sebastian is like really we need to answer his question. He's begging us to
sure.
answer his question. So I'm not sure what the question is, Sebastian, but one of the things he wrote was, I've been doing coffee enemas. Maybe you don't agree, but they are a lifesaver. That doesn't sound like a question. So maybe you have another question. Okay, Sebastian. Hi, how are you? What about so many detox educators saying fruit juice is bad, that it gives you blood and insulin spikes causing inflammation and liver, gallbladder, pancreas problems? Oh, great question. Sky,
Mm,
what do you think is the reason why, and is there any truth to this, that fruit juice is
mm.
bad and it gives you blood sugar spikes and insulin issues
Okay.
and gallbladder?
First off, let's go back to how I said the more natural I ate when I got well, the more things worked. If I juiced and if I still juice, I have a syndrome, or I did have a syndrome called dumping syndrome, where I
Mm.
don't have stomach, duodenum, almost some of the top of my intestines is gone. So I drink or eat and it goes straight into the intestines. And that means if you eat something, like just say I used to have a milkshake, which is high in sugar, that sugar shoots through. I get heart palpitations, diarrhea, faint. Um, I have not had any of those symptoms, but if I juice, so the fiber would usually hold a lot of the sugar to go in against the wall of the stomach quite slowly. You've got, pieces of fiber, pieces of sugar, pieces of nutrients. If you take out the fiber, you've only got sugar against the intestinal wall, and where the sugar is absorbed, it'll go straight through. My body
Mm.
can't take that. And I'm of the theory, once again, I guess it's hard for me to say, but I do believe juicing has its place. I just don't believe us as humans were meant to be born, wait till we bred someone who invented a juicer and then electricity, and then have a juicer present. Like I do see that, you know, juicing a few oranges here and there is doable, and I work okay with that. But if I start doing massive amounts of juicing, I can't juice. Unless it's greens, yes, but I still don't think we should be just, I still would prefer to eat the green. Like, I feel like that's my call. That's how I feel about it all. And I'm not very experienced because I can't do it. But yeah, that's my take on it. And
Yeah,
I didn't
I
answer
mean,
all of the questions, but that's all I know about it.
yeah, I don't, yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I like Sky's answer, and I personally have never seen I haven't experienced any negative effects from fruit juice.
Mm.
And trust me, I don't really, I used to drink a lot of juice. I worked for 10 years at a raw vegan juice place, so
Yeah,
like
I've heard
free
about
juice
it.
all day long. And I didn't have any negative issues besides my teeth. I don't know if the orange juice affected my teeth. It could
Mm,
have because it wasn't ripe oranges sometimes, they were all mixed together.
mm,
That might have affected my enamel and teeth issues, along with dried fruit, like a lot of
mm.
dried fruit. So those are the two things that I think might have not been so great for my teeth. Other than that, I never experienced any health issues from drinking lots and lots and lots of fresh orange juice. I would
Mm.
do fresh pineapple juice every day. And now I don't really drink juice fruits. I juice mostly greens and apples. I like
Mm.
to eat my fruit, just like Sky.
Yeah.
I just like it better because, then it's just like more satisfying and you get full. When you're drinking juice, I mean, I don't, juice is not technically natural.
Yeah.
Technically, there's no juicers in nature, right, Sky?
Yeah. That's what I like
So,
to start with. Sorry.
no, no, continue.
Whenever there's some sort of modality or people are doing something, I like to start with what is in nature because that is what healed me. Like, there's no chemicals in nature. I was out in the sun, that helped me. I would dunk in the saltwater ocean or sit by plants. That's all nature. I would eat my raw foods. And at the start, I had no blender, no food processor. It was a chopping board, knife, and my fruits and veg. So what I discovered essentially was if I did these very natural things, my body, not just my ailments went, but I felt incredible. Like, I didn't have any of these detox symptoms. I just felt better. And the biggest standout was that voice in my head was just so beautiful. It was just talking to me like I was worth so much and I'd missed out on looking after me. And now I got to, this all came from the more natural. And I do get that everyone's at a different place and a lot of people have found a lot of success in juicing. It's just, I can only go off my experience. And that's been my experience, is the more I went back to just fruit off a tree, sunlight, nature, I did better. I do better.
Yeah, that's a interesting topic talking about juice, because most people that do lots and lots of juice, I have found that they're not exactly successful on a healthy vegan diet long term because
Mm,
juice has so little calories. And so, this is off topic, but like if you're gonna fill up on juice, you're gonna be hungry in an hour or two. And it's like, well, then you got to find more fruit. But if you juice it all,
mm,
like what are you gonna do? Most of the time, people go back to eating junk food, in my opinion, that juice a lot. And there's nothing wrong with juice. Juice is super healthy. I mean, think about the
mm.
soda we used to drink.
Yes.
Think about the milk that the milkshakes we used to have. So, I mean, Chris says that they juice and it's really helping them. Yeah, of course. It's highly packed nutrition. Juice is amazing if you feel good on it.
So with the juice, just know that there are a lot of calories in juice. They're just not absorbed because it shoots through the system. So fiber
Ah,
slows it down. So that's why when you, even if you blend it and eat it and do it, you're doing so much better because it slows it down. A lot of the nutrients we think we're getting through, and there is that trick. So when you first have it, you will feel a bit of a push and a bit feel, but then it just drops straight out, and most of that you don't even absorb. That's what we need.
mm.
Unless the most clearest system and it was just absorbing everything. But that's the catch.
Thank you for the correction, Sky, because I always say calories, but what I mean is fiber. I
Yes,
mean fiber. It's like, yeah, they have lots of calories in juice, but it's like that's not going to keep us full. The fiber is. And
yes.
so we need to be full if we're going to be successful on this raw vegan diet. Um, so Chris wants to know a question, but we answered it a long time ago. So Chris wants
Yeah.
to know what made you shift to healthier eating. So Chris, watch this from the beginning. You're going to be amazed at Sky, everything she's overcame, and it's a good interview. So go back, watch the whole thing, and yes. So Sky, thank you so very much. I want to just ask you one last